This is part of the Simple Strategy series, and this is strategy number 3, self-insurance. And self-insurance is really meant to, it's your own funds, you control it at all times, and because you have these funds available, you could then be more aggressive in your multiplying account. And at a moment in time when the market has decreased in price, then your tokens or your total portfolio value is actually higher, right? So that's what we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to be going into more detail using an example, and then we're going to actually show you what it does on the graph and how it actually makes that possible. So let's get into this example. Okay, so in this example, let's say we have 25 tokens worth 4,000 each, and 25 times 4,000 is 100,000. So that's what we have as a portfolio value for that moment in time. Then we sell 5 tokens. 5 times 4,000 is 20,000, right? So sell 5 for 20,000, and we would still have 20 tokens, right? So 25 minus the 5 is the 20, right? Then the price drops to $2,000 per token. The 25 tokens, had we not sold, would have been worth 50,000, but the 20 tokens plus the $20,000 is 60,000. So if we take 60,000 minus the 50,000, we're left with $10,000 more that the portfolio would have been worth because the user did the strategy. Then you take that 10,000 and you divide that into 50,000, and it's 20%. So at this moment in time, the portfolio is worth 20% more than it would have been worth otherwise, right? Now, let's talk about the downside of that though. So if you sold these 5 tokens at 4,000 and then it went to 10,000, then you missed out on $6,000 worth of gains times the 5 tokens is $30,000 of lost opportunity. So there is a cost to doing self-insurance, and because there is a cost to doing self-insurance of less gains, you can think of the fee-based insurance, which is a different video, different strategy, as being an alternative in the sense that instead of using the self-insurance, and we're about to show you that example where it actually boosts it up, but instead of using the self-insurance to boost it up, somebody could have a higher liquidation price to begin with, and then choose to do a fee-based insurance, which would cost a lot less than that $20,000. Now, you wouldn't have that benefit where we just described that it would be worth more because you have the stable coins on hand, right? So you would miss that part, but at least you'd have, protection against liquidations, which is always important, right? If you're going to be more aggressive in how fast you multiply, you want to be also aggressive in how strongly you can protect yourself from being liquidated. And so if you do fee instead of this, the fee is going to be significantly less. You sell a lot less tokens, and if it did go all the way up to 10,000, then you get the benefit of that, right? So it is trade-offs in all of that. And so let's switch to the prototype, and I will show you exactly what the insurance does. Okay, so we're in here at the CiMPLE prototype. You can check it out right here. It's open during construction. Right, so we're going to click this button right here, and it will click and it will subscribe us to the current price of ETH, right? And then let's go in here under amount of tokens, and this is not connected to any wallet, so since we're just testing, it doesn't matter to connect it to the wallet. We're doing fake transactions to illustrate. I like going with 100 because if you go from 100 to 112, then you could look at that and say, okay, it's a 12% increase. Just makes it really easy. So we just put in 100 tokens, and what I want to point out is if you look over here, it's saying 18.4 tokens to buy, right? So that's with 0 insurance right here. And so what's going to happen is when we put in a value for the insurance, and this is manually being written in right now for you to just look at how the calculator reacts. However, the way it's logistically going to be done in the more future version of the project, right? So if you look at this, right? So the whole product solution, when it's there, right? The minimum feature is that it works, right? That you could put in a value and it does a proper calculation. That's our minimum feature set. For that, there's other little things that we want to do before we say that, okay, we're done with the minimum feature set, but that is one of those features, right? So we're not quite there, but eventually what it'll do is you'll have a separate account that is just linked, and whatever the value of the net stable coins, because you could be doing maximizing yield on that insurance account. And so what is the net amount that is in there? It takes that and it puts it in here so that it automatically calculates everything for you, right? Here's what's happening. you've got token quantity to buy, 18, right? And this was covered in the other videos, but I'm just gonna recap real quick. So the default values here is that this is 25% of all-time high, right? So you take the value of the all-time high times by 25%. That is the default liquidation price. But there's separately the stop buying price, okay? And so the stop buying price is when you stop buying, right? So if this was $12.50, that's simple math in my head I could do that tells me I could have $1,000 worth of debt at $12.50 is the liquidation price. So if I could have $1,000 worth of debt, where do we spread out the debt? Between this price and when you stop buying. And then because it's defined as when you stop buying, then it'll automatically hit this liquidation price over there. So behind the scenes, when you put in an insurance amount, what it's doing is it's saying not the $1,000 per token based on the liquidation price, it's the $1,000 per token plus the quantity that you have in insurance divided by the quantity of tokens, right? So we're gonna put in here 50,000, and I don't wanna hit enter, I don't wanna do any of that yet, I just talk for a second. So it's 50,000 divided by 100 tokens ends up at $500 more of debt. So before I can only borrow 1,000, now I can borrow 1,500 because I know I have $500 worth per token to bail myself out. So that's what the calculator is going to do. So watch when I hit the enter button, it's going to do two things. It's going to automatically increase the stop buying at because the stop buying at is going to end up being higher than what this default is. So it's going to change that because it has to. And it's because it's going to move the liquidation price based on the insurance amount. It's going to take the price that you predefined, so you know that you're working with that, but because of the insurance, it's going to boost up this line right here, and it's going to ultimately end up so high that it will be at the 80% mark. So that's also another way of thinking about it, is that the total amount of debt would, at this where you stop buying, only be 50, whatever that is, 57%, right? But because of the insurance, at that price, it can be basically 80%, right? And so that's how much more debt you can have, and then it also spreads it out along the curve. And so because it's spreading it out along the curve, we see right now that it's 18.4, but as soon as, because this is clicked, let me hit enter and watch what happens. This went up exactly as I described. It's now 1702 when it was 1680 or something before, right? It's now larger than it was, so it had to modify for that. It's boosting yourself up. So you still have the same 1202 as your liquidation price, but now it's based at 1702 because you have the ability to bail yourself out from the other account. Now, that means instead of buying 18 at this price, the current price, I have the ability to buy 28 because this is available to bail myself out later, right? So it allows you, now I could have bought that much anyways, but it would have liquidated at a higher price, right? It would have been riskier, right? And so that allows you to do this. That allows you to be both, as I explained in the previous image, more like your net account value could be higher, right? So let's just work with that as an example. Let's do a fake buy right here. The issue right now is that it was, like I said, it's debt per token, right? So this 50,000, what it should have done is been divided by the end result of tokens, not the original quantity of tokens. If you're doing this yourself and you're trying to figure out how much to buy or sell and you have insurance, temporarily until we implement the solution where it just goes to the end, you would do a bunch of fake buys, right? And so every time it's gonna overdo it both directions. And so watch this. Okay, it's a little bit too much that way, a little bit, okay, that's pretty close, so it takes like 3 of them. And then you look at what the quantity is, 126, subtract the original quantity, 100, and the amount to buy is 26.35, not the 28 that it showed. Still a massive improvement over the 18 that it was prior, but that is a little bit of an issue that we have, is that it should be based on the quantity of tokens you have after the purchase, not prior to, and that's why you saw that little issue on the graph. Maybe by the time you're watching this, it's solved already, but once you get that, and if you watch the Simple Journey video, you know that you can go inside of Instant App to actually do a trade. So you can do the fake buying and selling right here, get the amount, subtract what you actually have in your Instant App account, And then from there, you figure out, okay, that's the amount that I should be buying right now based on the amount of insurance you have in your separate InstantApp account, because that's how you would do it for now. Actually, let me just show you that. Okay, so this is inside the demo account of InstantApp for the CiMPLE DAO's treasury. So these are assets that we've received from the grant. Not only have we been paying salaries, but we set a tiny bit amount aside to do these demos, right? So in this account, it's a demo account showing how to multiply ETH. But if you look over here, and this, the way that it works on InstantApp is it saves the name on your computer. The reason why this is ETH 2000 is because when you're on the prototype, you can choose when it liquidates. And this was being more aggressive to liquidate at 2000. Got really close to that 2000, but did not hit that 2000. So we were able to buy some with that. And then if you look over here, here's the insurance account, okay? And so in the insurance account, you've got the supplied and the borrowed, right? That's explained in a different video. But you take the net amount, the difference between the two, which would be 269, okay? So you've got the 269, the difference between the two, and then that's the value that you would put in the prototype so that when you're in this multiplying account trying to figure out how much more you could buy because you have this insurance, that is how you do that, right? So you've got your account, tells you all the data that you have, then you manually type in the net value of your insurance, and that's how that will modify it, right? And then you'd go through here to do the trades. That's in the buy the dip video. And then the other thing to point out is that you can do the maximizing yield in the insurance account so that you can get a higher net APY. Hope you enjoyed this video. Next one is on CiMPLE tokens, and you'll want to subscribe, hit the like button. If there's anything in these videos that you think we could do a better job explaining, please put that in the comments. All of these videos are going to be redone. Your comments matter, and we're looking at that for where we need to improve. Thank you.